I have been teasing this for a while, but today I'm finally pulling back the curtain. For the last quarter of 2025, I have been relatively quiet. I have been in the lab. I have been observing. I have been looking at my own numbers, my own energy, and most importantly, the results of my clients across the globe. And I realized something that hit me like a ton of bricks. I was playing the wrong game. I want to take you back to 4 months ago. I was sitting there looking at my pipeline. I had tech companies from North America, founders from Middle East, and small agencies from Europe, all knocking on the door. On paper, it looked like I was winning, but internally, I felt like I was pushing a boulder up a hill. I was working with these smaller companies, talented people, great ideas, but we would hit the same wall every single time. We would get excited, we would map out the engine, we would see the potential for millions, and then the founder bottleneck would kick in. The fear would set in. And I realized I wasn't just building revenue engines anymore. I had to become full-time therapist for founders who were terrified of their own success. I had to ask myself a very hard question. Umut, do you do you want to be a coach who holds hands, or do you want to be the architects of the most powerful revenue engines on the planet? I choose the engine. So in Q4 2025, I made a shift, a radical burn the bots type of shift. I decided to change who I talk to, how I charge, and what I tolerate. I decided that from that moment on, I would only work with businesses that have already crossed the $2 million annual revenue threshold. I decided that our minimum entry point will be $100,000 per year. And I will be honest with you, I was super nervous. My team was nervous. People told me the market is tight right now. You are going to kill your conversion rates. You are going to lose the volume. But do you know what happened? The moment I raised the bar, the market rose to meet me. My close rate didn't drop. It didn't stay same. It jumped to 50%. For the first time, I wasn't convincing people to believe in themselves. I was talking to people who already knew they were winners and just needed the right machine to scale. In this episode, I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it. I'm going to talk about why $2 million is the truth filter for a business. I'm going to talk about the myth of no, why being told no by a big client is worth 100 yeses from a small one. And I'm going to show you the immediate results we saw in the last 90 days. And I need to tell this. I'm trying to find a way to explain this in a better perspective. This isn't just a business update. This is a manifesto for the next era of the Revenue Engine show. If you're a B2B founder who feels like you are vibrating in place, going 5% a year, working harder, but staying flat, this episode is for you. Because the bottleneck isn't the markets. It isn't your team. The bottleneck is sitting in your chair. So let's dive in. Let's talk about the filter. Why $2 million? People ask, but why not $1 million? Why not $500,000? A company making $500,000 still has a lot of room to grow. And they are right. They are right. But after years of doing this globally, from tech hubs in America and the emerging markets in the Middle East, I realized that $2 million is the truth signal. You see, getting $500,000 or even $1 million can be done on pure hustle and luck. You can have a mediocre product, but a very low personality and hit $1 million. You can have one big lucky contract and hit maybe $1.5 million, but cross that 2 million mark and stay there. That requires a level of market validation that you cannot fake. At $2 million, the market has looked at your product and said, yes, this is real, we want this. But there's a dark reason I set this filter, and it comes to financial honesty. I will tell you a story that changed everything for me at the end of 2025. I had a client, let's call them Company X. On our discovery calls, They painted a beautiful picture. They told me, Umut, our net profit is healthy, more than $20,000 a month in the clear. On paper, they were the perfect fit. We got started, we did the kickoff, we began building the engine. Then 30 days later, I got a call. Umut, we can't proceed, we don't have the cash. I was stunned. I said, wait a minute, you told me you had $20,000 in profits every single month. Where is the money? And the truth came out. The numbers were a mess. Their profit wasn't 20k. They were actually burning cash just to keep the lights on. They had lights. And here is the thing. They weren't just lying to me. They were lying to themselves. In companies under that $2 million mark, I found a lot of accounting by ego. They want to feel like a big company, so they inflate the numbers in their heads. But when you hit a $2 million floor, the infrastructure changes. You usually have a real accountant, you have a payroll, you have real stakes. The $2 million filter is my way of ensuring that we are building a foundation on concrete, not sand. The second half of this filter is social proof. This is where most B2B founders get it wrong. They think they need more marketing to get more clients. I tell them, show me your case studies. And they can show nothing. I decided in Q4 2025 that I will no longer build a revenue engine for a company that doesn't have social proof. Full stop. I don't care if it's a 10-page PDF or a simple screenshot of a client saying, you saved my business. If you have a B2B company, I need to see 3 of those. If you are a B2C, I need to see a mountain of them. Because here is the secret, I cannot scale a secret. If your current clients aren't talking about you, no amount of revenue engine magic is going to save you. My job is to take a flame that is already burning and turn it into a forest fire. But if you are coming to me with a wet match and no social proof, you are asking me to perform a miracle. Guys, I'm not a magician. By setting this $2 million floor and this social proof requirements, I'm protecting my results. I'm making sure that when we turn the key on your engine, it actually roars to life. It's about working with truth, the truth of your revenue, the truth of your reputation. I want to tell you a story, a lead I spoke with last year. It was the beginning of 2025, I guess. This was a successful agency. They had massive government contracts, very stable, very profitable, but they wanted to expand. They started an HR software company and wanted to break into the American markets. When they reached out to me, they had already spent a fortune. They had hired dozens of engineers, including high-priced AI specialists with massive salaries. We prepared a full growth plan for the US market. They liked it. They said, Umut, this is great, let's start. But as we dug deeper, I saw the red flags. I asked the founder a simple question. Why are you hiring all these tech people before you have even talked to the market? Think about it. They were building a product for the American markets, but they had zero data on what American HR directors, HR executives actually cared about. They hadn't talked to a single potential customer in the United States. I look at them and said, if you keep hiring developers right now, you are just going to build a piece of shit that no one wants. I told them you cannot solve a problem you don't understand. But the founder, a seasoned guy, 45, maybe 50 years old, didn't want to hear it. He had a build-first mentality. He wanted to hide behind the code. He didn't want to face the market. He didn't want to pick up the phone or get on a Zoom call to hear the hard truths from potential clients. Here is the fun part for me. I learned that the founder is shutting down the tech company. After spending 7 figures and almost 2 years, he is quitting. Not a surprise. And that's when I realized this is the founder bottleneck. No matter how much money they spent on AI engineers, and no matter how much money they paid me or raised money from A16Z, that business was going to fail because the leader refused to be a student of the markets. I walk away from that deal. In the past, I might have taken their money to try to fix them, but now I say no. This is why my minimum is now 100k. Because that 100k price tag acts as a shield. It attracts the founders who understand the engine isn't just code or marketing, it is the courage to face the markets. By raising my price and my standards, I stopped dealing with founders who want to hide behind building and started dealing with founders who want to start scaling. This is how you move from a 15% close rate to 50% close rate. You stop trying to convince the build first dreamers and you start partnering with the market first winners. I want to zoom out for a moment. This isn't just about my business or my revenue. This is about a trend I'm seeing from the Middle East to America, from Asia to Europe. I've spent the last 5 years of my life traveling and working with clients across the globe, and I've sat in boardrooms in some of the fastest growing regions in the world. And here is the hard truth: stagnation is a choice. I hear it all the time in smaller markets, maybe in parts of Eastern Europe or smaller cities in the US. People say, Umut, you don't understand. Our market is small, our economy is flat. It's impossible to cross that $1 million or $2 billion mark here. I'm calling BS on that. The geography isn't the problem. The economy isn't the problem. The problem is that many founders have built a business that is designed to vibrate rather than scale. If your business has been at the same revenue for 3, 4, or 5 years, or maybe you are growing at 5 or 10%, you aren't growing. You are just successfully maintaining your bottleneck. Founders tell themselves they want to change, but they treat growth like a hobby. They buy a coaching program, they watch a podcast, they read a book, and they get that hit of excitement dopamine. But when it comes time to actually pull the lever, to invest that $10,000 into ads, to change the sales process, to stop being the one who makes every decision, they freeze. They don't want to be a student again. And as I said at the beginning of this episode, I'm done chasing people who are afraid of their own potential. The shift I made at the end of 2025 was about alignment. I decided that if I'm going to put my name on a project, it has to be a project that is destined to win. I want to work with the founders who realize their old way of doing things is the very thing keeping them small. If you are listening to this and you are nodding your head because you know you are the bottleneck, I have a challenge for you. Look at your numbers. Are they true numbers or are they ego numbers? Look at your social proof. Do you have a product that people actually rave about, or are you just a good salesperson? The Revenue Engine Show is entering a new era. We aren't just talking about tips and tricks anymore. We are talking about building an added level revenue engine. We are closing 50% of our deals at $100,000 minimum because the market is starving for results that are measurable. In the next episodes, I'm going to show you what this looks like in practice. I'm going to walk you through the first 30 days of a high ticket partnership in the B2B markets. I will show you the exact audits we do to find where the revenue is leaking and how we plug those holes immediately. I made my shifts in Q4 2025. Now the question is, when are you going to make yours? I'm Umut. This is the Revenue Engine Show. I will see you in the next one.